you been doing this?
Well, I've worked in the neighborhood for 10 years, but we started Micah 8 years ago, and I've lived in the neighborhood for 7 years. This woman was already doing the work in her neighborhood, and she came to me and said, like, would you train me to do this? Like, I don't know what I'm doing. And we had been watching her and seen her work, and we're like, if we were going to go to a new neighborhood, that's where we would have gone anyway. And so we just liked her and her husband. They're pastors, and their church is right in the neighborhood. And so we've just been, like, hanging out with them and, like, using their, like, they let us use their space for a lot of stuff. And just kind of, like, building that relationship. And so I got some funding, but it wasn't, like, enough to bring her on. Mm-hmm. And I didn't really want her on our staff because she's on the church staff, and she's, like, doing, you know, like, great work, and I don't need it to be, like, called Micah, you know.
Right,
and so I just said, hey, I got this funding, like, what could you, so basically we said that would be, we would contract her to start a neighborhood action committee.
Okay.
And so that's, like, easy to fund to start a new one. Like,
right.
Everybody wants to do that. And so I actually got the Catholic diocese to fund them and their Pentecostal pastors. So basically that would be more kind of like the intermediary thing where I'm coaching her to what that looks like in our process. But then she does a lot of the same programmatic things that we do in-house here, but that's not part of Micah. So they, like, run an after-school program. They have a gym at their campus, like, you know, program stuff that's the churches. They do that, and we think it's rad, and we'll, like, you know, we're trying to help them find some volunteers and stuff. But so you're really, like, our part with them is the Neighborhood Action Committee and coaching her to do that. Was the part that made me want to find her funding, because I said, well, I've been trying to find funding so we can contract you. And she's like, I don't care if you have funding, just tell me what you know. You don't need money to tell me what you know. And I'm like, okay, now here's somebody that I want to invest in. And we've talked about that because in our neighborhood action committees, you know, certain people have different passions about different things. And so the way that it's worked out for us is, so the last part of our community building process is linking, and the idea is that we bring people from all our separate neighborhoods together to take on issues in the city. Basically, we have a healthy marriage lead team, and so we have representatives from each neighborhood, like one couple from each neighborhood come and they meet together. And so they are putting on, like, healthy marriage events and, like, programs for everybody. And so that team, and we have a couple now that lead that. Walter still facilitates it, but it's been more and more where they're leading
volunteers that just were passionate about this particular issue.
And so then they meet, like, monthly, and the stuff we were seeing in the neighborhood, like, really, like, literally, I'm not exaggerating, people saying, like, we were talking about getting divorced before we came to this meeting. You know what I mean? But so then we got then we gathered them and said, well, what, you know, now we're free for it to be whatever we want it to be. It doesn't, and we had already done, like, 2 rotations in the neighborhoods with the same study, so with the same seminar. So they're like, we just want to have fun. Like, couples, like, need to go out, and, like, we want to, like, let's do, like, a date night kind of thing. So they've hosted 3 of these date nights this year. And so, and they've been really intentional. Like, they've invited 2 couples from each neighborhood, like, that they've identified are really struggling and they want to invest in. And so that's kind of their next thing, is they want to put on this retreat. So I think that might kind of be the rhythm, where they do a few of these date nights and then, like, host the, like, kind of meteor seminar retreat thing. One of the things that we've talked about, and I think we have a lot of thrift stores in our community, so it would be better to work out a partnership. But, like, at Neighborhood Ministries in Phoenix, they have their own store, and it's, like, on their camp. They have, like, a huge kind of compound, you know, like, and on their campus they have the store, and so it's, you know, a simple, almost like old school Sunday school buck kind of, you know, earn a buck kind of thing, and but you get points for your work in the community, and then you can cash it in at the store, and they keep food in their store, and so we thought about something like that, but it doesn't make sense because the way our community is for us to, like, start our own store, and so I haven't really pursued any of those kinds of relationships. But just answering your question, we found that we have to, the people that work best with our neighbors are the people that have been with us for a while. Like, we have to, like, indoctrinate people, basically. Like, they have to, like, know us and our culture and who Micah is, and we've spent a lot of time in the last year in particular, but really 3 years, but really that more intentionally in the last year of just saying like, we're a community of people. Some people are live in the neighborhood. Some people give money. Some people are volunteers. Like, but these are the things that we do together. We pray together. We eat together. We serve together. We study together. And like, we have this rhythm for how we do that together. And so, like, you're welcome to be a part of our community. And, you know, and then in that, people begin to understand, like, oh, it's not like, oh, you people tell you people what to do or whatever. Like, there's this mutuality. So then when I say, hey, would you want to walk with this neighbor, then it's more like, oh, yeah, I know her. We were at the study session together or, like, whatever. And so, or people just have more of an understanding of, like, our values and our culture of how we work. And so that's been more helpful than, then once a quarter we do what we call Micah Learns Together. And so we'll take a topic that's of relevance to our work. So we, like, at first it kind of came out of, like, our volunteers need to, like, have, like, be reflecting on their work and, like, reflecting on their faith. But then we were like, well, that conversation is going to be more powerful if our neighbors are, you know, there too. You talk about immigration a lot different if you're sitting next to an undocumented immigrant, you know?
Exactly.
And so, and it was important for our neighbors to hear. What I appreciated too is that people still, we only invite, like, our community that. It's not like invite your whole church or whatever. So we have site coordinators that's who we're, like, most intentionally training as leaders, because we're training them around, like, volunteer management and classroom
all
behavior.
volunteers.
What? Like, the whole point of this is if they want to have, because the center opening came out of the Neighborhood Action Committee. And so if they want to do it, then if no one, you know, we can't keep jumping in here. So this is our third year doing it, our third school year, and it's starting to, like, roll more. But it's definitely a challenge. But we have, like, more high schoolers volunteering in the centers. We have newer site coordinators this year, and we've gotten better about really investing in them and, like, seeing where are the areas that they need coaching. And so now we have kind of like a separate training for them. But they all went through the volunteer orientation and stuff.